Hello friends, how are we all doing? I hope this finds you utterly sensational on this another day in paradise. And if you're not living in paradise, then we need to fix that, don't we? Because life's too short not to. Probably not going to be living too much there in paradise. Excuse me, when I fix my studio. You're not really going to be living too much in paradise, I'm guessing, if you're buying too much into this conflict stuff. It's all a bit silly. It's actually a bit of a game. It's quite a clever game, and perhaps through the course of this video, I'll try and give those of you that are desperate to try and understand it, I'll give you a few tips. So yes, I'm Chris Thrall, former Royal Marines Commando. Bump, bump, bump. I saw my active service in the Northern Ireland conflict, particularly bloody year in Northern Ireland, 1989. Chap behind me, our tail end Charlie, on patrol, shot three times, and we lost one of our brothers within after about 3 weeks. And it's at that point that these guys that we're going to be looking at, or certainly this guy Aiden, is probably going to be feeling now the moment of reckoning, as it were, when it suddenly goes from being something that you're playing at to being incredibly real. So a little bit about me. What have we got here? What can we show you? So this is my podcast for those of you who are not subscribed, so please do. That's the Bought the T-Shirt podcast, and we've had some great guests recently. This morning I was chatting to Big Phil Campion, SAS, who many of you will know. Brilliant chat with Phil. The best part of our chat is we're not talking about guns and killing people. We're talking about how can we support our young people out there to get out and smash their lives, to get control of childhood trauma, get control of good mental health, see through all the bullshit. And yeah, good old guy, Phil. When I'm not doing Bought the T-Shirt, I like to do silly things like run 1,000 miles pretty much non-stop while sleeping at the side of the road. This was a recent fundraiser I did. I took a team of elite veterans to Achnacarry in Scotland, home of the Commando, and we smashed out the legendary Royal Marines Commando 9-mile speed march. Morning friends, I'm Chris Thrall.
A former Royal Marines Commando from Devon has tonight reached Land's End after running all the way from John O'Groats. Chris Thrall has run an ultra-marathon every day.
And I will be leading a team of elite fighting veterans.
I'm Stephen Bowden, I'm a Royal Marines Corporal.
I'm Jace Patterson, Captain of Majesty's Royal Marines.
I'm Sean, Royal Marine. Chris Stewart, Captain in 23 Parachute Field Ambulance.
To Achnacarry in Scotland, training ground, Churchill's Commandos. Recreating the Royal Marines' legendary 9-mile speed march, raising money for the Royal Marines charity. Please get involved by following us on social media or chucking a fiver in. Thank you. Okay, there we go. That was a bit of fun. Just shows you, you got to get your head in the right place, friends, because you get one life. If you live it right, one is enough. And being able to smash out what is arguably probably the toughest military basic training test in the world, and to do it at, can I say, over 50 years old, yeah, it's a good place to be. And we did make a few quid for struggling Royal Marines. So let's just get into this without further ado. We're not here to judge folks. We don't take sides. We're all adults. And I wish this young man the best of luck. It's sometimes in life we are all victims. And as we talk through this, we'll possibly touch a bit on the agenda that we're all prey to, the agenda that's playing both sides in Ukraine. So someone asked me earlier, Chris, how can we, and it's like, well, the first thing is stop taking sides, because believe me, if you're taking sides, you're not seeing the actual side that's controlling the whole goddamn show. Those people that are familiar with this bit of literature will kind of understand things like the New World Order and the fact that some people have got plans for all of us, whether we like it or not, whether we agree with it or not. It's just the way it is. There's always someone who wants to win the game of Monopoly. So let's get cracking. Folks, I've had to muck around with my screen here because so we don't get, this is not my material, so I can't just play all of it. Let's just play a bit about this chat talking. This was, I believe, Sky News gets the credit for this interview.
I don't think we need to send British troops or American troops. I think all the West needs to do is we need to support Ukraine politically, like give them as much political support as we're doing, like continue it, even like amp it up, and just give them the weapons they need to defend themselves and to defend their country.
Yeah, that's one thing, Aiden. Or you could say that what we actually need to do is practice peace, love, kindness, empathy. Get in a stage where we don't keep falling for the same trap of these phony sham wars. Like I say, they're controlled by the same group of people, sit behind closed doors, planning all this stuff out. And we, the gullible public, because we watch our mainstream media, we only know one narrative. What it would be helpful to do is understand that we've all been cut off from a much bigger thing from birth. Cut off through our education system, cut off, like I say, through the mainstream media, cut off by our Hollywood, music industry, that have all led us to believe we're all this individual. When you believe you're an individual, you live in something called the ego. So it's you against the world and nobody's going to tell you to. You see this on social media, don't you? You see the anger and the hatred and the bitterness and the upset with the old keyboarders. And when you've got a global public that are in that state, they're just so easy to manipulate. So a more helpful thing is not to charge into these conflicts. It's to sit back and analyze the situation, and through silence, what some people will call prayer, heaven forbid, but I think in Eastern texts it's called meditation. You will slowly get the answers, and probably the biggest answer that's been hidden from you is that we are all one humanity. We are life experiencing itself. If you physically put your body, my skin and your skin under a microscope, you're going to see exactly the same molecular structure through this process called evolution over billions upon billions of years, or however long it's been since the inception of the universe. We've evolved, or life has evolved, universe has evolved. And we're at the stage where the universe has actually grown up into these separate bodies, i.e. you and me, that can have the ability of intelligent thought, simply because this crazy 1,000,000 to 1 chance of development of chemicals in our brain means we can hold a thought. If you can hold a thought, which is simply electromagnetic current running through some sloshy stuff, powered by stuff that we put in our mouth to get the energy. If you can hold that thought, then you have the ability of reflection. Then you have the ability of self-determination. And of course, like I say, that fools us into thinking that we're individuals. when we're actually not. Track that back, you'll find that actually we're all one life. And these I don't know what you call them, these controllers, they don't want you to know this. This is what's hidden from you. They don't want you to know this, because if you knew it, then you wouldn't be going to war with your fellow man, because you're me and I'm you. Do you get it? So I want the best for you. I literally want the best for you. If you tell me, Chris, tomorrow I won the lottery, I just bought 25 Ferrari, I'm happy for you. I'm not envious, jealous, not in the slightest. It's like if you're happy, my world is better. So this is a fundamental thing that we all could do well to get better at understanding, because if not, under the auspices, if that's the right word, of living on our egos, we're just going to sell all our freedoms down the line while we're controlled by this group of idiots, and they're going to steal all of our freedoms. And come on, if you look at the last 24 months, did you not see? Do you ever think a time in your life would come you'd be placed under house arrest for 2 years, and that people would actually ask for it and go along with it? We're going to lose more and more and more of these freedoms. So that's enough about the old spiritual bit, folks. But that's what being a warrior is. Anybody can sit on a couch shoving McDonald's down their face and flicking through Netflix, and we all do that. We all do that enough. Well, maybe not the McDonald's bit, but you get what I'm saying. But it takes a real legend to seize the day, to seize your destiny, to find out what you were actually placed here for, and to find out that eternal, or is it infernal, 4-letter word that is the answer to everything. If you know that word, put it in the comments below the video, right? But let's get on to this. So first of all, I just want to thank this chap, Graham Phillips, who appears to be a journalist. I don't know if he's living down there in Donbass region, or whether he's just visited and he's had access to chat to this prisoner of war. But the video we're now about to watch, I just want to make it clear, it's not mine, it's Graham Phillips. He seems a reasonable guy. I haven't watched a lot of this. So Graham, if you're watching, if you'd like to come on the podcast, feel free to make contact. And thank you for allowing me to make a little bit of comment on your video. I'm not going to kick the ass out. I'm not just going to put it on my channel and play the whole thing. I'm just going to try and make some fairly intelligent observations that hopefully will help us all, and possibly even help these chaps down there. So and much love to everybody in the chat tonight. Really nice bunch of people following this channel, supporting this channel, and it's I think it's good what we've developed over the last few years. So thank you. So here he is. Here's our chap, Aiden Aslin. Let's just get into it, hey? And no, folks, this is a reaction video where I play a bit and then I discuss what we've seen. If you want to just watch the video, there's a link below to the to Graham's channel, and you can get all up to speed on him. This is a reaction video, so you don't need to write in the comments, why didn't you just let the video play, dude? Let's have a look.
I was going to look camera now. I'd like to just say a couple of words that filming prisoners of war, although Aiden is, I will say this as it is, a
good camera, that one, by the way. You can't quite see it. Hang on. There we go. I've actually got that camera myself, and it was James English that said to get that camera for the old podcast.
Mercenary. There are protocols governing that as per the Geneva Convention. I shall be adhering not only to them, given that Aiden is, as I say, a mercenary, those don't necessarily apply, but because we're all good, nice, polite people here, we shall adhere to not only the protocols and the covenants of the Geneva Convention, but also this will be uploaded to YouTube, so the applicable YouTube guidance.
Yeah, so basically, our journalist is Graham's just not not trying to upset anyone really, and to give this guy a fair shout.
We'd just like to confirm that you're speaking of your own will. There's not
So doing the preliminaries, I think we can fast forward a bit here.
a scene of when Russian soldiers have been taken captive by Ukrainian soldiers and what's happened to them.
From the videos I've seen online of Russian soldiers being captured, Ukrainian soldiers haven't adhered to the Geneva Conventions.
Right.
There's been a lot of war crimes that have taken place, like from what I've seen. A lot of it's down to the Nazi groups like Azov Battalion and Right Sector.
Okay. As I said, folks, I have to keep coming in, otherwise YouTube will switch off this live stream as I'm talking, because their software recognises that this is someone else's video. But I don't know about you, it all seems so bizarre, almost like we've been spoon-fed this narrative to regurgitate. And even the guy here that was on the side of Azov, on the same side, so Ukraine, is now spilling the beans that we've all been trying to divulge for a while now. It all seems a little bit too, I don't know, too sort of picture perfect, but it's interesting. So I'm guessing Aiden here's down there in Donbass region, in captivity. Graham's got access to go and interview him. Aiden's obviously, he's that moment of reckoning where he thinks, oh my God, what's going to happen with my life? And that can be an incredibly frightening place to be. He's going to be rethinking his decisions, isn't he? Well, did I actually make a good one here? The fact that he's now effectively on global television or media channels, spilling the beans about his former brothers in arms, sisters in arms, probably gives you an indication of how scared he is, that he just wants to get off this and go home. I wonder what he'd be saying if they're just going to release him back to the Ukrainians, or moreover, Azov Brigade. I'm not saying he was Azov Brigade, but you get what I'm saying. It's all gets a bit nasty. He's been asked here, are you aware that Russian prisoners of war have been mutilated by Ukrainian forces, namely Azov and Right Sector and etc., etc. And he's saying, yeah, I'm well aware of it. Which, again, is there a question there? Well, why don't you just get up and leave? Will you? Perhaps he's going to explain this for us.
And a lot of nationalists as well. From what I can see.
So you understand, let's get down to the nitty-gritty. I mean, we're talking about absolute barbarism. We're talking about videos of Russian soldiers, servicemen killed by stabbing them in the eyes, tortured, mutilated, slaughtered by your colleagues, your comrades. Aiden, I mean, come on.
It sounds like a school teacher, doesn't he?
I don't promote this. Like, if I ever saw anyone doing anything like that, I'd try to intervene, because first and foremost, like, just because it's the enemy, they shouldn't be treated any less than once they drop their rifle, and then that's them finished. And I think the people that do these crimes, they should be punished to the fullest extent.
Yeah, I think someone's coming up in the comments there saying, is this all fake or what? I mean, we're never going to know, are we? Truth is, Aiden here, he's a nice lad, no doubt, but probably not the brightest spark in the box. Neither am I. But is he one of these Call of Duty warriors that all thought it was going to be tea biscuits and medals. Maybe we're not going to know, but is he part of a bigger plot to make some fake propaganda video? I don't think so, but then I'd also in the same breath say, I don't really know, do I?
Which, with the Ukrainian military, I doubt they're going to even care about it.
I mean, we're talking about, I would say there's no words to describe people like that, but we're talking about Ukrainian soldiers. I'm going to use a few choice words to describe them. Animals, scumbags, barbarians. Your comrades, Aiden, what are we talking about here? How has this ended up that you're on that side?
Yeah, so again, I don't know what Graham's sort of connection in all this is. I don't know if he's a journalist that's flown over there or whether he's got some, he's got a dog in the fight, i.e. like he lives in Donbass, or he's very passionate about these people that align with the Russians down there, or indeed feel they are Russian.
I made a stupid choice. I easily misread the information and joined the wrong side.
Whoa, that gets a bit serious, doesn't it? Actually going as far as saying you joined the wrong side. Quite interesting, isn't it, that so many people in the alternative media, or many of you guys that watch alternative media and you kind of prefer that narrative, it's hardly surprising since the events in New York and Washington 20 years ago. We could give numerous other examples there, couldn't we? Hardly surprising people don't believe mainstream media. But this is interesting because up until now you had to dig hard to find anybody defending the Russians. Nobody seemed to see that, bloody hell, they're setting up the potential for nuclear armaments on their doorstep in Ukraine, if Ukraine joins NATO, obviously. Not to mention that the other countries closely packed in around Russia are in NATO, and that not only that, but the people in the East, so these people affiliated more with Russia, have been subjected to what can only be described as almost genocidal treatment, the kind of stuff that we've been seeing in Palestine and that the global community seems to turn a convenient blind eye to. This is the first time that the other side is kind of openly being not just given airing, but Aiden's completely agreeing with it. Interesting.
You've ever seen, I don't know if you've seen a sketch by Mitchell and Webb. They're dressed up in Nazi style uniforms.
Yeah, I've seen that.
On one side it says, "Are we the bad guys?"
Yeah.
Okay, just bear with me a sec here. Dun, dun, dun. So we've got Diane saying Aiden asked to be interviewed by Graham. Yeah. Bum. So Haas has been saying Graham's been in Donbass for a few years reporting. He was in Kiev before. Here you go, guys. You can read for yourself if I can work the technology. Oh, pop it in there. There you go. Dun, 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 dun. So Richie's thinking that Graham works for Russia. Well, I mean, he may well work for Russia. It still doesn't mean he's wrong, does it? I mean, as I just literally was trying to say, probably badly, this is the narrative that many people have been trying to make people aware of since the beginning of this, that this isn't some like big bad Mr. Putin that's out for world domination and like something in a freaking Bond movie. No, this is the guy that's desperately trying to protect his own country and doesn't like the moves that have been being made on it, which just don't seem in the interest of the longevity of a peaceful Russia. A bit the same as if, I don't know, bloody, I don't want to pick a country because it makes it sound like I think they're bad and I don't. But let's just go for the archetypal North Korea as a silly example. But, you know, if North Korea wanted to set up nukes in Cornwall, so Cornwall is like 5 minutes that way, folks, are we all supposed to just go, yeah, it's absolutely fine? Oh, you know, it's this dialogue just not been had. And it's not just that it hasn't been had, it's that when you see the MSM, mainstream media, they've avidly just avoided it. And everything we've seen has clearly been a massive brainwash. Massive brainwash. You know? Again, the likes of which some of us remember from 20 years ago with certain events in America, right? So again, right on saying the same thing. Graham is bought and paid for by Putin. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying he is. Graham, don't hate me. I'm not saying this, but like even if he is that coming as a surprise to people because they've only seen the Western media narrative on this? Does it come as a surprise to people? This is what happens in war. You get propaganda. The propaganda doesn't mean it's not right, but both sides are going to try to sell, going to sell themselves in the best light. There we go. Yeah. Hiya, Basil. Basil's coming in with some good stuff there. Yeah. Guys, make no mistake. Of course, Aiden's been told what to. This is, how do we not see this kind of dialogue in every single prisoner interrogation, whether it's been in Iraq, Afghanistan, of course. Look at those horrible. I don't want to say too much so we don't get chucked off YouTube, but those nasty videos that came out of the Middle East, the ones that, did we not see the person whilst they were begging for their life also saying what an absolute monster George Bush was and America? And I mean, this is the nature of these videos. So yeah. Like I say, as I said at the beginning, folks, this doesn't help me understand life. What helps me understand life is going in a dark room and shutting my eyes and making that connection with something that's just much, much more massively bigger than all this bullshit. This is just more of a, I'm just making a commentary on this video. Please don't think I'm taking sides, because I'm not. I'm on the side of peace, love, kindness, empathy, and if everybody said no to war, that would be a better starting point than immediately the Sun newspaper puts something out in Sky News. Everyone dives in and takes a side. Okay. So, yeah, okay, sorry, chat's still going on. Listen to a bit more. Let's fast forward a bit.
Wanted it to just finish, and I thought, given the circumstances, Ukraine would do the appropriate choice, but they...
You've been serving for years in the Ukrainian army.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, you're socially aware in terms of social media and all the rest of it. So in that time, you must have surely done some research, looked on Google, checked out the Azov battalion, for example.
Yeah.
You must have seen the signs that they wear, the wolf's angle. You must have worked out that these guys are Nazis.
Previously, we had never really worked closely with Azov, like up until we came to Mariupol. Like when a day in Mariupol was just the amount of destruction, and it was one of the videos I saw of one of the other journalists that was in Mariupol, where Azov were driving down the street, like using civilian buildings for cover, like while there's active fighting going on. It was then like I started to change my opinion. I've always thought they were like far right, but I tried to convince myself maybe it will change for the better. But especially after the base was taken, and like the amount of like Nazi paraphernalia that was like found there, like it's blatantly obvious, like they're just Nazis.
Oh, he's laying it on the line to Azov, isn't he? Yeah, I mean, clearly he's loading it on here, folks. Not well. I mean, say clearly, he's might just be telling the truth. There's obviously other interpretations of Azov. Or what I mean is, there's other elements that we're not seeing here and that we don't see in this conflict footage and conflict correspondence. For example, they believe in community. Okay, so a bit like Sweden and Norway or Scandinavia, they believe in being community based. They have concerns that their community is going to be subject to this agenda that we're seeing in Europe, where our countries are being, or our cultures being decimated by rampant immigration, most of which illegal, most of which off the back of these Mickey Mouse conflicts that have been escalated or started in North Africa and the Middle East. It's, you know, it's interesting. It begs the question. This is why we're all adults, why we can have debate. I mean, from my own experience, I was at a play park yesterday, beating up all the other kids so I could, you know, get on the swings. Oh no, sorry, that was another time. But no, I was at the play park yesterday with a certain little man who I love very much, and we live in the southwest of England, so we were always fairly untouched by this sort of immigration along the levels of the north of England. It was always a joke when I grew up that Birmingham was more black than white. That's just how it was. But yesterday, there I am down this play park, and I'm the only white adult there. Well, myself and my son, we're the only white people there. This is how rapidly things are changing. And it's not a natural progression, is it? It's not like gradually over the years, you know, families moved here and no, it's so fast. Do I have an issue with people from other cultures? Yeah, you're fucking right, I do. Right? There are certain issues therein. I've lived in 85 countries across all 7 continents. I've driven to India from Europe and back through the Middle East. I've seen elements of that culture that are just utterly frightening, so out of tune with that which I was brought up with. Does it mean that I judge them as human beings? No, of course not. We're all equal. But I remember in Hong Kong, when I lived in Hong Kong, I shared my flat. I shared with an Indian family, and I remember the young lad came up to me once and said, he said, Chris, is it true if I come to England and I don't want to work, the government pay me money? And I said, well, yeah, kind of, pretty much. He went, really? It's just concepts that are just lost on people. The concept of social welfare, that it's done to be nice, it's done for community, can just be seen from someone who hasn't grown up in that culture as, what, like I can fucking rip the government off for all this shitload of money and use it to my own aim whilst not working, right? And yeah, it creates big changes. It creates upheaval, but it also disintegrates community. It disintegrates the natural harmonic or harmonious vibration that emanates from within a group that's born out of love, like a community. In the olden days, they went to church together, didn't they? And then everyone knew the butcher, the baker, and the candlestick maker, and the kids all went to school together, and etc., etc., etc. And to say that having that pretty much destroyed in the space of, what's it been? 30 years is absolutely all perfectly fine, and only a racist would disagree. Well, it's kind of not how it is it? They found out in Sweden to their cost. They've now got no-go areas because women dressed in a short skirt, they're judged by certain individuals from certain countries. Well, not all the individuals in that country, obviously, but a significant percentage is, they're asking for it, therefore it's okay, and it's creating immense problems. So, going back to my original point, you can't just write one group of people off for everything or as being one thing, can you? There's probably elements of Azov that you can understand it. They've seen their country messed with all these years by different interests, not least of which the kind of, what are we going to call them? The elitist, controlling, big business interests, the big interest mafia that we call them. They've been subjected to that, and nobody wins. So, yeah, hope this is making sense. I
want to give you the opportunity then, from Brit to Brit, in your own words, your relationship now, and what should people in the UK know, and how should they relate to the Azov Battalion, which is a battalion of the Ukrainian Armed Forces.
Yeah. So, for those unaware that don't follow the news or anything, Azov Battalion basically was created in 2014, I believe. Its leader, I can't remember his name.
Andrei Belinsky.
Andrei Belinsky. He's connected to very far right, neo-Nazi.
Okay, so the interviewer here, whether he's getting paid by, it's just irrelevant. What he's trying to do is to get our man here, our Aiden, to fill in all the gaps that you're not hearing in Western media. That's all it is. That's all this. That's what this exercise is all about, isn't it? Is, by the way, do you know, you guys that watch your BBC and your Sky News and you think that's the truth? Do you know that actually there's this whole area they haven't told you about the history of Ukraine and the rise of the far right movement, or the Banderas, or the Banderites, as the Russians refer to them?
And where has that been?
And that might just be that this interviewer, he's like me. I'd want you to know this stuff. You know, I'd want you to know the history of Ukraine and the various elements that are involved in all of this that you're not going to hear in the media. There's one element I'd really like you to hear about. But you kind of got, you know, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. And you got to figure this one out for yourself, folks. It's not rocket science, but it does take a will. And all the time you're getting stuck in the weeds over, oh, I support Ukraine. Oh, I support Putin. Well, I used to support Putin, but I support Ukraine this week. Let's just send them a shitload more fucking arms to drop on the women and children. Excuse me. All the time you're in that matrix, that system of mainstream control, you're not able to step outside and see the bigger picture and see what's going on and see what's been taking shape now for probably 400 years. If we're going to look at this mafia, where's my book? If you really want to educate yourselves, you've got to look at the monetary system. So, look, great book. When you look at the monetary system, you trace it back to ancient Babylon, then you really start to develop a holistic framework within which to understand what's not just what's going on in Ukraine, but what's going on around the world.
Circumstances, your situation.
It's been good. It's better than what I was expecting it to be. Like for the past month and a half when we were under siege, I was basically on guard duty in our battalion headquarters because of my previous attempt to desert. And the reaction of a lot of the Ukrainians that were serving alongside me were mostly ignorant or didn't want to accept the fact that we will lose this battle, which I told them we won't win, we should just surrender already.
And how did you come to be taken into captivity?
So I think it was last Monday, the remaining Ukrainian forces, our commander came to us previously because they had been preparing the vehicles with armoured shielding. And basically our commander came to us and he gave us three options. He said either you can try walking out and try sneaking out somehow, or you can go in the military convoy, which is being modified with armour and stuff to try and break through.
I'm not liking these options, are you?
Or three, you can surrender to Russian and DNR forces. I chose number three because I'm not an idiot and I know what the situation is.
So you ended up with no food, with no nothing, didn't you?
Yeah, the Ukrainian military left us. My humble opinion about Mariupol is we should have left Donbass when we were given the opportunity.
Yeah, again, it's all sort of part of the narratives being highlighted here that you just haven't heard. I keep saying mainstream media. It makes it sound like I listen or watch it. I honestly don't. I have to click on the Sun newspaper videos on YouTube to find out what bullshit they're telling people now. But they want everyone to think that Russia's on the lam. You know, they're in retreat. Ukrainians are smashing it. Whatever you think of our journalist here, he's doing a good job of showing a different side of the coin, huh?
But instead, our commanders told us to stay in Mariupol and do it to the last man, which is reckless.
In the UK, Aiden, as we've discussed, your family are worried about you. I'd like to give you the opportunity to say some words to camera, to speak directly to camera, to your family.
So Diane, my wife, I want you to know, like, I love you. And I hope that the British government is able to push this prisoner exchange so that I can return to you and we can build our life in Britain. My mother, my brother, and rest of my family, I also love you, and I hope to see you guys soon, hopefully, if this exchange with prisoners is done.
Yeah, I'd say to Aiden's family, you can't know for definite, can you? But I wouldn't be worrying so much about this scenario as I probably would in other hotspots around the world. Now that this chap's been paraded all over the media, I would say, I could be very wrong, but I'd say it's highly unlikely the Russians are going to, or the Donetsk people are going to block their copybook by harming him in any way. In fact, it's to their gain. From what I've seen, it's to Russia's advantage to treat their prisoners properly in accordance with Geneva Convention, etc., etc., etc. Whether or not a mercenary needs to be extended the convention or not, that's not the point. The point is that if they start retaliating in kind, then they've lost the moral battle, haven't they? So, yeah, must be awful for this chap's family. But these are the things you need to consider before you go off to war. It's crazy still that this guy's over there. They've got three children back in the UK. It's like, what part of not being a good father did... what part of being a good father school did you miss out on? Imagine being a little kiddie and all you know in your life is that your daddy went off to some war that wasn't even his and never come back and live with that sense of abandonment your whole life. And this is, serious childhood trauma.
Okay. I mean, you understand we're out of the jurisdiction here of the British government. You're really, as it's being positioned in the British media, you're being held by, inverted commas, by bad Russians. And as I say, your own Twitter account is pumping out a stream of anti-Russian bile and hatred as you're being positioned in Sky, BBC, the Daily Mail, etc. as some kind of, I don't know, they're trying to position you as some sort of a hero who went to fight for Ukraine, but now you've ended up being taken by the Russians, who we're told the worst things about exclusively, and yet here you are in captivity for a week. You look absolutely okay to me, in decent health.
Firstly, like, for people that say I'm a hero, I'm not a hero. I try to desert. That's not something a hero would do.
Say it as you see it. I'm not a hero. I try to desert.
Secondly, like, my treatment's been good. Like, I've not been beaten or anything. It's been better than what I actually thought it was going to be. Like, when we were surrendering, I was scared to death of.
All right, guys, I can just play this, but you're better off just going and watch. If that's what you want, go and watch the whole video. I think we made the point, haven't we? Yes, of course, this is propaganda, but propaganda doesn't mean it's not true. Refreshing to hear the other side of the narrative. I'll just pick a couple of bits and I'll just try and comment quickly.
He, in better words, is like, look at Mariupol before and then look at it now. Like, if we had left Donbass, like, Mariupol would still be a city. Right now it's graves, like, especially from other, like, journalists who were following DNR on Russian forces. I saw them giving interviews to civilians who were inside Mariupol, talking about how the Ukrainian military and Azov were, like, using, like, the cover of, like, civilian.
Again, it's all the narrative. Any of you who've been following alternative media, you know all this, right? You're familiar with all this. I'm waiting for the bit where Jeremy Beadle busts through the door. Surprise, surprise. He goes, oh, you bastards. you had me there. You had me there. Probably not probably not going to be that result, so don't get excited.
His unconditional support of Ukraine, and what would you like to say to him?
So Boris Johnson, if you're watching this video, obviously you're aware of my situation and the situation in this area. Firstly, I'd like to say is help end this war, and I don't mean like militarily. I mean like help it be achieved by peace. 8 years is a long time for war, and with the new edition of this operation, we need to help finish it so civilians can return to their lives without the threat of bombs.
And how should it be finished? On what terms?
I think what we said before with like what President Putin presented, I think that was a reasonable agreement. It's reasonable that
so Donbass is independent.
Yeah, Donbass, Lugansk, and Crimea is recognized as Russian territory.
Okay.
That's a reasonable request. I can't see why they wouldn't accept that.
Okay, folks, look, I'm just going to have a quick look at the chat. I'm sorry if I was being a bit blasé, but anyone who's done even like a tiny bit of digging, this isn't that you know all this stuff from the beginning, right? You know, if I was to try and tell Disco Dave this, he'd just look at me like with those mad void in his eyes. How dare you insult what they've all told me up the pub, Chris? This is nonsense. Putin is an evil monster. He's out for world domination. But you know, we don't listen to the Disco Daves of this world, do we? We do a little bit of our own research, but just apply a bit of common sense. So yeah, there it is. You've got my thoughts on it, folks. For what they're worth, I hope they help somebody. But ultimately, what you're seeing here is you're seeing an outpouring of people's discontentedness with their own lives. So the way it works is like we all need to win our own spiritual battle. Okay? That's like working on ourselves. It's not about getting on a flight and flying to someone else's country or picking up a weapon, whatever it might be. It's not that. You work on a spiritual battle. You work on getting your vibration high. Those that want to know more about it, look at my Commando coaching or my Legends coaching playlist. It's not rocket science, this. I think it's a bit for those of you that like the story of Jesus. Doesn't he say something like, before you start trying to sort out the splinter in other people's eyes, you got to sort out the plank in your own. Right? How many people are there bad-mouthing Putin or bad-mouthing the Ukrainians and armchair generals, and then they're going to go and knock back 6 pints of strong lager tonight and get a shit on with the missus, or be grouchy with the kids tomorrow, or they're just going to get up and go to the same crap job that they've hated for the last 20 years because they've just, they don't believe they can make change. And how does this manifest? It manifests in jumping on your keyboard and hating this and hating that and supporting this and supporting. It's not the way it is. It's not how we win in the end. We win in the end by winning a spiritual battle, folks. It's that simple. You got to be in a position where you're feeding yourself right. You've done your research, so you've got your knowledge, that you act or you conduct your day in a certain way that enhances your well-being, and you need to be on good relations with all people. You can't have like one little bit of hate. It doesn't work like that. This is how you affect positive change in the world. You don't do it by, supporting war. It's just, you think that would be self-explanatory, wouldn't you? But people don't know this, do they? They just know their mainstream media, and we've all been led. So that's it. Massive love to you all in the chat. Thanks. Sorry, I'm just seeing if. Yeah. Massive love to you all. If you can like and subscribe, I do this one. And I'll see you in the next video, when we will be discussing the price of onions in Uzbekistan.